Liam Carter was 122 pages into his latest Brad Thor thriller when he heard the familiar hum of his wife's car pulling into the garage. He glanced at his smartwatch. It was 8:23 p.m. He sighed deeply, setting the book down on the coffee table. This was the fourth time that week that Jenna had come home late from work. Up until 3 months ago, Jenna had rarely been late during their 8 years of marriage. At 36, Liam prided himself on being observant, a skilled Hon. During his years as an IT specialist in Boston, he wasn't one to jump to conclusions, but he had noticed subtle changes in Jenna's behavior. At first, he dismissed them. Everyone gets busy, right? But then came the evening when she returned home with smudged lipstick, a rarity for Jenna, who was a perfectionist about her appearance. On another occasion, as she leaned in to kiss him, Liam caught a faint whiff of cologne, one that wasn't hers and definitely wasn't his. That night, as they lay in bed, Liam pulled Jenna close, burying his nose in her hair under the guise of spooning. The scent confirmed his suspicions. It wasn't her usual floral perfume, but something distinctly masculine. Liam didn't know much about fragrances, but this one was as unfamiliar as it was unsettling. When Jenna walked into the living room that night, Liam still felt the same pang of awe he always did. At 34, Jenna was radiant. Her wavy auburn hair cascaded down her back, and she was just as stunning as the day they'd met in college. Yet tonight, that beauty felt like a cruel reminder of how out of reach she seemed. "Hey, babe," Jenna greeted, her voice light, as she leaned down to give him a peck on the lips. Before he could respond, she added, "I'm going to change. I'll be down in a minute." She disappeared upstairs, leaving behind the now familiar scent of that same cologne. Liam sat frozen for a moment, the pages of his book forgotten. He knew he couldn't ignore the growing rift between them any longer. Whatever was happening, it had to be confronted soon. Upstairs, Jenna changed into her favorite loungewear, her thoughts swirling. She loved Liam. That much she was sure of, but there was no denying the magnetic pull she felt toward Nathan Vermeer, the tall, charming, and confident vice president at her company. Nathan had been transferred from the Chicago office 6 months ago, and from the moment they'd met, Jenna had found herself captivated by his easy charisma. At first, it had been harmless, shared laughs in the break room, lingering glances during meetings. But Nathan had a way of making her feel noticed in a way Liam hadn't in years. She hated admitting that to herself, but it was the truth. Over the past few weeks, their relationship had crossed into dangerous territory. Private lunches, after-work drinks, and late-night texts that felt more intimate than they should. Downstairs, Liam replayed their recent interactions in his mind. The once effortless conversations had grown strained. Jenna often seemed distracted, her eyes flicking to her phone more often than not. And then there was the silence about Nathan. Early on, Jenna had mentioned him frequently. Brilliant new VP with great ideas. But now, nothing. The abrupt change was deafening. During dinner a few nights ago, Liam decided to test the waters. "That new guy at your office, Nathan, right? He's still around." Jenna looked up, startled. "Yeah, why? You used to talk about him a lot. Now it's like he's disappeared," Liam said, his tone casually casual. Jenna's cheeks flushed as she fumbled for an answer. "He works in a different department now. We don't really interact much." Liam nodded slowly, filing away the lie for later. He knew better than to push her in the moment, but the truth was becoming increasingly clear. 2 weeks later, after yet another late night at the office, Jenna approached Liam as he sat on the couch, his book open but unread. She hesitated in the doorway, wringing her hands before speaking. "Liam, can we talk?" He looked up, his brow furrowed. "Sure. What's on your mind?" Jenna stepped closer, her voice trembling. I need a hall pass this weekend." Liam blinked, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. "A hall pass," he repeated, his tone slow and deliberate. "I need time with Nathan," Jenna said quickly, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Just one weekend. I need to figure out, I don't know, something. I love you, Liam. I do. But I need to sort out my feelings." Liam felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. His hands clenched into fists as he struggled to control his emotions. "You need to figure out your feelings," he said, his voice low. "And you think spending a weekend with him is the way to do that." "I'm being honest with you," Jenna pleaded. "I'm not hiding anything. I need this, please." "Liam, you love me enough to let me figure this out, don't you?" Liam stood slowly, towering over her. "Jenna, if you walk out that door, you're making your choice. And so am I." "Lee," he interrupted, his voice steely. "Do what you feel you have to do, but understand this. There are consequences. And once you make your decision, there's no coming back." Jenna left the house on Friday evening, her heart pounding as she drove to the boutique hotel where Nathan was waiting. She tried to shake off the guilt that gnawed at her, but convinced herself it was necessary to clear her mind. The thrill of stepping into the unknown made her hands tremble as she parked and walked inside. Nathan greeted her in the lobby, his confident smile easing her nerves. "You look amazing," he said, his eyes lingering on her fitted emerald green dress. "Thanks," Jenna replied, her voice softer than she intended. She couldn't help but notice the butterflies in her stomach as he took her hand and led her to the elevator. Their weekend began with a dinner at an upscale Italian restaurant downtown. They shared a bottle of wine, exchanging stories and laughs like an infatuated couple on their first date. Jenna felt a thrill at being the center of Nathan's attention, though the nagging guilt remained buried just beneath the surface. She was too caught up in the moment to address it. Back at the hotel, Nathan kissed her deeply as soon as the door closed behind them. For months, Jenna had wondered what it would feel like, and now she knew. His lips were warm, his hands sure and confident. Yet, as the night progressed, Jenna found herself distracted. She had built Nathan up in her mind as an unattainable dream, but the reality didn't quite match. His touch was skillful but lacked the tenderness she hadn't realized she craved. By the time she drifted off to sleep beside him, a sense of unease had settled in. Liam spent the weekend alone at home. On Friday night, he ordered a large pepperoni pizza and cracked open a beer, trying to numb the pain of what he knew was happening. As he ate, his mind replayed every moment of his relationship with Jenna. The highs and lows, the promises made, and the vows she was now breaking. After finishing the pizza, Liam went upstairs. He grabbed several large trash bags from the closet and began methodically packing Jenna's belongings. Her clothes were thrown in without care, but her jewelry and keepsakes were placed neatly in a box. By the time he was done, the bags and boxes were stacked near the front door. The master bedroom felt empty, but Liam was resolute. This wasn't a decision made in haste. Anger, yes, but it was made in self-preservation. The next day, Liam spent hours walking through the Boston Public Garden, letting the crisp autumn air clear his mind. He stopped at a bench overlooking the pond and watched as families strolled by, children laughing and chasing fallen leaves. He thought of the life he and Jenna had once envisioned. Buying a house, starting a family, growing old together. That dream was gone now, shattered by her choice. On Saturday night, Jenna lay in the hotel bed beside Nathan, wide awake. He was asleep, his arm draped lazily over her waist. She stared at the ceiling, her thoughts racing. The excitement she'd anticipated wasn't there. Instead, she felt hollow. Nathan was attractive, charming, and attentive, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was missing. Her mind wandered to Liam. She thought of his quiet strength, the way he always supported her dreams, and how he never hesitated to put her happiness above his own. A pang of regret struck her chest as she realized the enormity of what she had risked for a fleeting thrill. The next morning, Nathan kissed her goodbye as they parted ways in the hotel parking lot. "Let's do this again sometime," he said with a wink. Jenna forced a smile but didn't respond. As she drove home, the weight of her actions pressed down on her. She rehearsed what she would say to Liam, convinced she could make him understand. He loved her. He always had. Surely, he would forgive her, wouldn't he? When Jenna walked into the house, she was met with silence. Liam was sitting in the living room, his attention on the TV, though it was clear he wasn't watching. A stack of bags and boxes sat near the front door, and Jenna's stomach dropped. "What's all this?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Making it easier for you to leave," Liam said flatly, not bothering to look at her. "Liam, please," Jenna pleaded, stepping closer. "It was just one weekend. I was honest with you. I told you what I was doing. You told me you were going to betray me," Liam shot back, finally turning to face her. "You think that makes it better? You think being upfront about it means it wasn't cheating?" "It wasn't like that," Jenna said, tears streaming down her face. "I needed to figure out how I felt. And now you know," Liam said coldly. "I hope it was worth it." "Don't do this," Jenna begged. "We've been through so much together. You can't throw it all away over one mistake." Liam stood, his eyes locked on hers. "You threw it away, Jenna. The moment you chose him, you ended us. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm walking away from someone who doesn't respect me or our marriage." Jenna sank onto the couch, sobbing, as Liam turned and walked upstairs. She realized too late that she hadn't just risked their marriage. She had destroyed it. The next morning, Jenna woke up in the guest room, her eyes puffy and her head pounding. The bags by the front door were still there, a stark reminder of how much her life had unraveled in just one weekend. She made coffee in silence, her mind racing for ways to salvage her marriage. Liam hadn't come downstairs yet, but she knew he was awake. She could hear the faint sound of a shower running. At work, things weren't much better. Word of her weekend with Nathan had spread like wildfire. It started as whispers in the break room, but quickly escalated into open stares and barely concealed smirks. Jenna's closest friend at the office, Sarah Monroe, approached her during lunch. "Jenna, you know I care about you," Sarah began hesitantly, sitting down across from her. "But you need to know, people are talking." Jenna's stomach dropped. "Talking about what?" Sarah gave her a pointed look. "Nathan's been bragging about you, about the weekend. It's not good." Jenna felt the blood drain from her face. "What exactly is he saying?" "Enough to make it the office's favorite gossip," Sarah said softly. "Look, you're my friend, but you need to get ahead of this. It's not just affecting you. It's affecting everyone who works here."
Jenna nodded numbly, barely able to process the words. Nathan had promised discretion, and she had believed him. She had thought he was different, but now it was clear she was just another conquest to him, a trophy to brag about. Meanwhile, Liam spent his days quietly and deliberately disentangling his life from Jenna's. He opened a new bank account and began transferring his paycheck. He contacted a divorce attorney, setting up a consultation for the following week. Every action felt like a small step toward reclaiming his dignity. One evening, Jenna tried to confront him again. "Liam, please," she begged, standing in the doorway of the living room as he watched a basketball game. "I know I hurt you, but I'm sorry. I love you. Can't we try counseling?" Liam didn't look away from the screen. "Counseling won't fix this, Jenna. How can you be so cold?" she asked, her voice cracking. "We've been together for 8 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" Liam finally turned to face her. "It did, Jenna. It meant everything to me. That's why this hurts so much. But you don't come back from something like this. You didn't just betray me. You destroyed the trust we built together. I can't live like that." Tears streamed down Jenna's face as she realized how resolute Liam was. He wasn't angry or yelling. He was simply done. At the office, Nathan's arrogance began to catch up with him. His indiscretions with Jenna hadn't gone unnoticed by HR, and the whispers among employees soon reached upper management. Nathan wasn't just pursuing Jenna. He had pursued other women too. Complaints about his behavior began piling up. Within a month, he was quietly transferred back to the Chicago office, his reputation in tatters. Jenna's own career took a hit. Though she remained at the company, the humiliation of being at the center of such a scandal made her workdays unbearable. When her manager suggested a transfer to the company's Charlotte office, Jenna took it as a chance to start over. A few months later, Liam's life took an unexpected turn. On a crisp Saturday morning, he met Emily Mitchell at a local farmer's market in Boston. She was 33, with warm hazel eyes and a laugh that lit up the room. Emily was an elementary school teacher who had recently moved to the area, and the two struck up a conversation over their shared love of fresh produce and coffee. Emily was nothing like Jenna. She was down to earth, kind, and genuinely interested in Liam's story. Over the next few months, they grew closer, their bond built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of what it meant to rebuild after heartbreak. In Charlotte, Jenna lived a quieter life. She spent her weekends alone, reflecting on the choices that had led her there. She missed Liam more than she could express, but it was too late to fix what she had broken. One evening, while scrolling through social media, she saw a photo of Liam and Emily at a community event. They were smiling, arms around each other, radiating happiness. Jenna closed her laptop, tears streaming down her face. She had once had that happiness, and she had thrown it away for a fleeting thrill. She realized then that Liam had been right. Her actions had consequences, and those consequences were permanent. A year later, Liam and Emily were married in a small ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. They built a life filled with laughter, love, and mutual respect, welcoming their first child 2 years later. For Liam, it was a fresh start, a life he had once dreamed of with Jenna, but now shared with someone who valued and cherished him. As for Jenna, she eventually remarried, but her second marriage ended in infidelity. This time, she was on the receiving end of betrayal. She finally understood the pain she had caused Liam. Approaching her 40s, Jenna vowed to live a life of integrity, even if it meant facing the world alone.